what would drop you from a 70 to some other number, even lower on the scale?
What would drop me?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I've, just really thought about it, and we just kind of turned it about and have more of an understanding of the scale system, because I was trying to really get a grip on what was going on there and why. And I mean, that's a really good question, right? Because it's like you already have where you're at, so you only want to add to it because you hope and you want it to be something.
You want it, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if I didn't want it, then where would it be?
That's a great question. So, yeah, you said your line was a whirlwind a little bit, like a couple days ago. Tell me what are your thoughts? Because it's been 10 days, right?
Okay, thank you. Because I haven't kept track.
I just only because I had extra time before you got here to kind of go over my notes, and I wrote down some questions. Which, if you want, I can hand it to you right now, and you can go over what I'd like to go over today. But I kind of wanted to just start by giving you the floor completely. What do you want to say in general?
In general,
yeah.
I came into this with an open mind, but I didn't have any idea what was going to happen. I just had the forethought to just be myself and to let it unfold on its own. And the aftermath has been quite awakening, yet it's coinciding with a lot of the stuff that's been going on in my mind, in my life, when it comes to healing from past trauma, which I think coincides to the beliefs that I was commanded to be under, that I had no choice to be under. And so now I'm readjusting a lot of my...
Excuse me. I just choked on some water.
It's okay. So now I'm like readjusting... Not readjusting. It's almost like a grief process. Because there's behaviors and there's ways of living that I may have had a better understanding if I was able to approach this world and this universe and this life with more of a balanced perspective. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Was it okay? So when you first left, maybe I will ask this question. When you first left the interview, we messaged each other and then we met up that night.
I got that tea.
Oh yeah, the tea. Here, I'm gonna make sure everything's going good too.
My herbal tea.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. Bunch of sit down there. Okay, good.
I love all these small details that matter.
You gotta make yourself comfortable. When you first left, how did you? What was going through your mind after the interview was over? Because you came over once for one round, and you left and sold a car.
Okay.
And then,
yeah.
Right? And then while you were gone to selling the car, you seemed eager to come back.
I was really excited to get back and get.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you came back, we did it again, and it was the hardest portion of the survey. We did like the easiest parts first, and we started with the end, which is when to change our minds, which I think that was probably the best way to go, because I wasn't exaggerating at all when I said it's pretty rare to see somebody, because the last 6 statements on here are when we should change our minds. And I often investigate beliefs that do not match my own. I am comfortable with saying I don't know. It is beneficial to find out when I am wrong about something. I will abandon a belief if I discover reliable information that falsifies it. I look for more information before I accept something as true, and it is possible that some of my beliefs are not true. And I think I missed one of them, actually, and I thought I hit them all. I think the falsifying one is the one I missed. I will abandon a belief if I discover reliable information that falsifies it. That one I think I missed, but the rest of them I tested you on, and you are strongly agree on all those. Like,
yeah,
So was that a good way to start things off, especially when you listen to the interview back a second time?
I think so.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember when I left the first time feeling light.
The first time. So when we were halfway through the interview.
But I didn't know like the why.
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna go take care of this car thing, and I have some logistics to take care of in my life. But I was being very present in what I was doing, and I wasn't necessarily, ruminating about our conversation, but it was all very active within my presence. And then when we got back, it was just like, let's get this on.
Yeah, because you were eager to see where it was going, maybe?
Yeah, because we had opened up the tooth box.
Yeah, we were opening it. Yeah, it was like we were just looking inside.
Yeah, something's going on here, and there's something that we can maybe work with, and it kind of tickled my interest. So
cool. And when it was all over, once it was over and you left that night, I met you at a house party later that night, and I was like, let's not talk about it, but let's kind of talk about it.
Did you see me, though? I was...
Yeah. You were ecstatic. You were in some...
I was on another level.
Yeah, there was something going...
Something had, risen in me, jumped in me, where I felt, all right. I was just okay with the situation, with how things are happening, that I'm not worried about a lot of things that I shouldn't worry about.
Okay, yeah.
And I remember the feeling that when I left, when the whole interview was over, like I had taken a bunch of rocks out of my backpack. And I just tossed them on the ground. I've been carrying them around for no reason. And that was what made me feel light, to bring it back to after I left halfway through. I was feeling like I was walking on my toes almost. So I went and stole that car, shook the guy's hand, felt pumped. Came back here, and then afterwards, it's like, hey, I just unloaded on a lot of things. I felt like I had spoken my truth and been real and honest, and there's no regrets. And a lot of the things that happen to us in our lives, they're not really our fault. You're kind of just doing what you're told, or doing what you think is right. And then you make choices about what's really going to benefit you or not. So I'm kind of lost at words actually at this moment about it all.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay, so I want to take a look-see here. First, before
I'm glad you took a picture of that paper, because I have no idea where it went.
Oh, which one? The survey or the...
Oh yeah, it ghosted somewhere. I probably have it.
Well, the thing is about the survey, we moved around so much on it. I don't remember where we started and where we ended.
But did we take a picture of it at the end?
I took a picture at the end.
Okay, I want that because I'm gonna.
Did you lose the paper?
No, it's not
'Cause
lost.
I gave you the paper.
It's not lost.
Oh, okay.
It's definitely where I put it,
Uh-huh.
and I'll find it. So the last place I look, it's gonna be there
Okay.
for sure.
It'll turn up.
It's gonna
I'm
be.
not worried
It's
about
gonna
it.
be in the last place.
You can always fill out another one.
Yeah, but that first one though is interesting. It really made me think because you're like, well, this is most people don't do this. I did this, but most people don't do this, but I do this, and it made me think about myself. It made me really think.
The outsider tests, it seems.
I keep touching that. I try not to.
It's all good.
I talk with my hand.
It doesn't thump that much. I have like a thing that mutes out the lowest tones. Okay, so this is where I'd like to start our follow-up interview. This is a list of the beliefs that we checked as you checked them.
Okay.
Would you
This
like
is
to?
how I left it last.
That's how you left it last.
Okay, let's look it over real quick. And I'm going to verbalize.
Sure.
That's how I am. Street epistemology.
Yeah, you can just start
I know.
right.
That word is really a mouthful.
Epistemology.
Epistemology is a mouthful, and I still can't bring it out for some reason. It's interesting.
Yeah. That'll change if you watch more interviews.
Attraction, prayer works, free will. Souls. Material energy. Energy is material. Is energy material? Everything happens for a reason. Like fate. Destiny. Predestiny.
Well, that would be free will, I think.
I mean, everything happens for a reason. Which means if everything happens for a reason, then you wouldn't have free will.
Yeah, or maybe could one simultaneously think free will and everything happens for a reason can coexist? Is that possible?
Say that one more time.
Is it possible for both free will and everything happening for a reason
Yes.
to coexist?
I think so.
Okay.
I actually do think so.
All right. We would just have to define what these things are and what they mean and how we could know that they are true. Yeah. Did you want to uncheck any of those? I'm leaving them there. But don't go too far up. Yours is at the bottom. Because I have more than one person who's done this.
Higher power karma. You know, the problem with a lot of things is like when we talk about language and how we define things. And what does it really mean? So, I kind of believe in karma as in there's a cause and effect. So, I'm going to leave it because I kind of feel like it's like a Newton's law.
So you would so to you, karma is cause and effect?
Yeah.
Okay.
For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
If I drop this pen, is that karma?
No, if you drop the pen, gravity pulls it to the floor. Okay, and it will make a noise. So.
Well, is it a cause when I drop it, and then the effect is it falling?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to figure out how you define karma.
I don't really know how I define karma, but I feel like there's
sometimes just talking about what it is.
Like, it to me the karma and law of attraction is the same button.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you watch my law of attraction video?
I don't think I did.
Okay. Yeah.
And also law of attraction as another subject. I don't believe in law of attraction the way it's been sold.
Okay. How would you define it?
Oh, I mean, that's an interesting question. How do I personally feel?
Yeah, because I don't care what anyone else thinks.
I think I kind of blarged it out. I think last time I was listening to our interview over and over again, and about the thoughts, actions, words, feelings, energy that you exude and you emit from yourself, no matter how you do that, whether that's through something, or I sing or voice to you, Or
Cool hat, by the way.
with my mind, I'm thinking good thoughts to you, like giving you the health.
Yeah, so that's the one thing.
Those are, I believe, coincides with the law of attraction and karma, because that emanating that vibe is a return in kind.
Okay.
And I feel very confident and believe that it is a truth in my view.
Okay. You mean you believe it is true?
I believe it to be true.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't have...
So what's the claim exactly?
Oh, what's the claim exactly? I don't know
Yeah.
what the claim exactly is. The claim is that if you say good things and do good things, that good things can and should happen to you. That your perception is connected to how you are speaking, thinking, and behaving.
Okay.
So if I'm always pouring out goodness and goodness and giving and thanks and that is the things that will be in my field of vision. But if I'm going to be, for example, when I had an ankle injury and I was in chronic pain for a year and a half and I was feeling painful and I was depressed, I was seeing and feeling negativity, hurting, negativity, and I had more negativity attracting into my life. Now, was it the power of the law of attraction? I don't know. I don't even like those three words together to define whatever the hell I'm talking about, because I don't know what it really
Can I interpret what I think you are talking about?
Wonder, please, because
Okay.
I don't really know what I'm talking about.
Because I think, and I'm mixing what I'm hearing with things I've heard you say in the past. So if this isn't right, correct me if I'm wrong. But it sounds like what you're saying is when a bunch of people are all being jerks to each other, then people are going to tend to be raised as jerks. And when people are all generally kind to each other and they're exposed to that kind of behavior a lot, that social behavior a lot, then people will tend to be nice. It's the difference between a certain region of this country that's very polite and a certain region of this country that might not be very polite. You know what I mean? So
it goes from household to household, from space to space, from person to person, and individual to individual. It's not just a group. By individual basis is what I'm talking about. But yes, as a group, as a culture, as a social network, yes, because I think there is that. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about a person. We're talking about one person here. How does one person's thoughts affect the outer world and the perceptions and how they see it? And am I believing that through the power of thought, it can attract whatever happens? Yeah. Okay. I think I've seen evidence that through the power of thought, water molecules have been able to be changed. Now, it could be a total farce. It was convincing enough to me to make me hope that it could be true, but yet I'm still skeptical of it. Made me feel good. It's some evidence that maybe me and you on another time could look into. Like, did the human brain actually think good things and it actually changed the way water molecules are formed?
Yeah.
It's looked like very valid scientific evidence, and we do know about thoughts emanating outside of our sphere of meat. So I think that it could affect the other vibrations and wavelengths around us, and so it makes me wonder about the truth of it all, and so it makes me hold on to a belief.
So I'm tempted to... I'm going to give you two options here. We can either go down this road and do what we did last time. Basically what we did last time, we just did the how portion at the very end of the second portion of our interview. It was the how portion on the higher power. And basically we could just do that for karma right now. And I can ask you how you know it.
Karma isn't that interesting.
However, it did seem like it would affect the way you think or your core belief system if you looked in that box and if you found out that it was true or wasn't true. Would you want to look in that box? And
sure,
you'd want to look in the box. But would looking in the box giving you the answer that it's not there be impactful for you? Would it change a lot?
Well, no. Maybe
No?
because I think I don't know.
Maybe I'll ask an even broader question, even more abstract than all this. If all of these things on the list were not true, would it still be important to you to be a good person?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely.
So
It's
being a
not
good
what-
person
it's not
isn't
what-
hinging on any one of these things, it doesn't seem like.
Well, not at all.
Okay.
Not
All
at
right.
all.
That's good to know. I just want to make sure. The other option we can go down, we can talk about karma, or we can pick up where we left off on the higher power issue. I'm
Okay.
kind of curious as to where you stand with that now. We can look at the list
Interesting.
again, but
So
I would like to talk about either.
I thought about it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really have. I've thought about it.
Okay. Yeah.
I've thought about
Maybe let's start with the number. What's the number on the scale? Between 0 is ignorance, 1 is all questions.
Didn't last time I say 80?
Yes.
I think this is going to shock you. I believe more.
You're higher on the list than you were before. Okay. All right. What number would you give it?
feel stronger now
Than you were before.
than before. And if I was going to put a number to it, I would only eke it up like 82.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm not going like 99. But I'm like more encouraged
Yeah.
than discouraged, which shocked me actually.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was really really working through some things
Okay.
about all this. And let me tell you what the balancing act of this happened is my faith and hope and the possibility that any of these faiths and religions are the true and the path to be back to have the eternal, whatever they define it as, eternal life, as however they define it, has been rocked, has been like almost utterly put aside, as far as like they all have something going on, but they don't have like this system that's created a lot of.
So they're all partly true?
I have no idea. They may be, but it's made me just see it kind of how it is. I've kind of see it as this.
How is it? What is the way it is?
Well, a lot of it's been very messy because we've been killing each other for millennia over things that we can't prove.
Yeah. Believing something that is false is okay if it gives you comfort. And we talked about how that if we are believing in a thing unconcerned with whether or not our epistemology is good about it, then it could cause other people to have a hard time resolving a difference with us. Yeah. So if we were to just zoom out and say, from what I'm hearing you say, is that perhaps all of the different religions over the millennia are partly true to some degree, and they're all trying to figure out some greater thing. And you're saying that the thing that they're all talking about is the thing that's true? That they're all alluding to a thing?
I think they're alluding to some type of question that we hold as humans.
Okay.
And they're just trying to find these answers. And then humans are just drawing their own conclusions. And then they're killing each other over it. And it's upsetting.
Yeah. Even if we could take the motive out of it completely, it is upsetting that there's violence caused by disagreements. But for the purposes of this workshop, I only am interested in whether or not things are true.
Okay.
So when it comes to this higher power, that they are all the different religions of the world are trying to figure out, how could we know that they are not all just delusional completely? Is there any way to find out? What is it possible that they're all alluding to something that's not there?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Possible.
If it's not there, how would we find out that's not there?
There's no way to find out.
Okay. Do we say that it is out there until we find out it's not there?
No.
Okay. What would...
I don't know, man. I mean, but this is something I've really been thinking about. And then since the last time we talked, it's making me like really turn the butter.
Yeah.
Like, and then coming from my back.
I love that about you, that you've put a lot of thought into it afterwards, and that you've been really receptive to our messages back and forth ever since, and it's pretty cool.
I mean, I know a lot of my backlash of behavior that I went through life was a result of dogma. And I've seen it with peers and friends and movies and documentaries and history, and seeing the pattern being repeated over and over and over and over. And so it's really pissed me off.
Yeah. So those are all reasons to be cautious of conclusions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why have we concluded that there's a higher power?
Okay, so why am I concluding to a higher power?
With an 82% degree of confidence,
so
it seems.
It's my awe in the grandiosa of the entire universe. And the inability to be able to grasp time and space, and the question of, to myself, am I really even thinking and perceiving this, and what is consciousness, and how could all this come to be? And if we all as humans got struck by some big chunk of space that exploded us, then that would just be the end of consciousness? Or because of the vastness of space, there's probably other consciousness, and maybe it's similar, but why would it be similar to us? And maybe it is, and if it is similar to us, why does that pattern continue to repeat? Because it's about patterns repeating over and over that I see through everything, and how we're even divided as cells, and then going down from the shapes of the galaxies and stars, and then creating our solar system, and then our atoms and molecules, and how all these patterns continue to repeat in such a beautiful way. It continues to have me grasp that there is intelligent creation.
And I follow that part. How does that connect to a higher power, and why? If there were even more intelligent people or more intelligent creatures out there, would that be more evidence that there is a higher power?
I think so.
If there were less intelligent creatures in the universe,
well, we know
or no intelligent creatures at all, would that be evidence that there isn't?
I mean, if there was none, oh man, then we truly are the center of the universe.
I guess what I'm saying is it good evidence? In other words, if where's the connection between intelligence and creativity and awe? I wrote down awe and consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll put it like this. Can awe or consciousness be used as evidence to conclude anything?
No, it can't. But what it does to me in my head is seeing the evidence of what we are capable of makes me wonder about what could be capable of.
What could be possible?
What could be possible. And that there could be some type of
here's my.
I don't know. It's just fascinating. It's fascinating.
I'll lay down how my worldview works a little, and I'll just put this out on the table and see how this resonates with you. Normally I just stick with questions, but I'm gonna try this out as like something.
I don't really have any idea. Like I said in the beginning, when we started this, I'm sitting here now, just going with the flow.
Yeah.
And trying to just be an open-hearted thing.
We're totally. This is fully organic. Like we're
agenda.
just.
So go.
I had a list, but it's all for naught. We're doing something else now. Plans change.
I'm into it, man.
Me too.
So
I think you're a great person to talk to about this sort of thing.
I think there's a lot.
Because I'd like to learn more. If you have good reasoning for this, then I want to know it. So let me dig into it by laying this out. If so let's say like you have a test. You're in school, high school, college, whatever, and you're sitting down and you get a test. And let's say you take the same test 3 days in a row. Okay. And the first day you didn't study, so you just write A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D on the Scantron. Right? You just fill out the whole thing like that, and you hand it in, and you get back an A+. And you're like, that's crazy. It must have been like total luck, but you were wanting to test the test. So when you get the second test, you say A all the way down. It's just all A's, right? However, you get back an A+ also the second time.
Okay.
And you're like, well, I want to test this test again because how could this be actually grading me on anything if I can fill out whatever I want and it comes back an A+. So you fill out all C's or all B's, it doesn't really matter, and you get back an A+. Would you consider that test an effective way to judge whatever knowledge it's trying to test you on?
It's obviously not testing me on anything.
Because it's just affirming whatever the results come back, you just get.
What are you trying to get at here?
So I guess what I'm saying is, what is a failed test for this? In other words, let me put it like this. This is my claim, and I'm 99.9% that this pen will fall when I let go, right? And I'm not 100 because I'm not closed-minded to the idea that it could do something else. Maybe it'll float up or fly up or something else, right? And my ability to imagine what it not falling would be is what's keeping me at a 99. If I had never seen a thing fall before, I would never be justified, according to myself, I wouldn't be justified in saying that it would fall. If I had never seen a thing fall, ever, right? Then how could I say it will fall? Right? But because I have an experience of things falling when I let go.
I've dropped a lot of things.
Yeah, yes, you have. I've seen you drop a phone a couple of times, almost kind of tossing it just to.
I still don't have a case.
The life-proof case, or
no? I still don't have a case on this phone.
Oh,
the life-proof case broke.
Oh,
so now I'm walking.
Yeah. So, but if I let go of this pen, it'll fall, right?
It's going to fall.
Yeah, I'm like 99.9. The criteria that would allow me to doubt is it imagining it doing something else.
It does. It has a rocket ship on it, so
right?
It might
we have
fly.
criteria. You and I, we have criteria to slide us down a scale.
Okay.
Right. In other words, if I'm at a 99, right, for this, and I'm at a 99 because I've seen things fall and I can imagine what not falling would be. So there's all sorts of ways that we can confirm our ideas. But if we don't know how to disconfirm them, is it possible that we've just been confirming them all the time?
Yeah.
And there's no way to show that it's not there, right?
Yeah.
So what would we look for if it weren't true? This pen falling to the ground.
What we would look for if it's not true?
Yeah.
We would look for it floating.
Yeah. That would be criteria to slide us down in confidence. So if I let go and it was just like and floated in midair, then we could say, oh man, now I'm like 90% confident that things fall when you drop them because sometimes they float, right? Mm-hmm. That would be a thing that would bump me down the scale. Yeah.
Okay, I want...
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, wrap up what you're trying to say here. I'm hearing you, but I feel like you need to try to get something through to me.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm only trying to just describe the things that keep a number at where it is.
Okay.
And how to imagine sliding the number down or up.
Yeah.
Okay. And so if I let go and it falls, then that's confirmation that it will fall, and that's keeping me at 99.
Okay. So I feel like if we would have gone through this whole entire thing again, there's definitely, I didn't look at it again, but in my mind's eye and my memory, I'm definitely going to move a bunch of that down.
Bunch of what down?
A bunch of the, I think a lot of these things I think would have shifted.
Oh yeah, so these are principles of epistemology, which is different than the scale. The scale is something else completely.
Okay, never mind. Put that away.
Yeah. There's a lot of things going on here.
I'm attaching them together, but
yeah.
Since our last talk, since going through all of this, a lot of the things on my scales are shifted, and to more of like to the middle ground or to lower, as in. You
mean you've shifted on these on this survey? We should probably talk about the survey down the road.
Like beliefs kind of thing, like things that could be,
Oh, you mean the number on the scale
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of your beliefs has fallen, but not the higher power. That one's gone up.
Right?
By 2 points.
And now the thing is, it goes to as well my belief in the eternal soul.
So let's stay focused here on the higher power number.
But to me, it
goes hand in hand.
It's hand in hand, and it goes hand in hand because of my.
Would you prefer we talk about where you are on souls instead?
I don't even.
I want to take this where you want.
Did I mark? Was there an option last time? Did we even talk about?
We didn't put souls on the scale because we put 3 other ones on the scale. I can't remember which ones exactly. I think it was higher power and. We might have done law of attraction and karma. I think those were the 3.
Interesting.
We did.
Yeah, because law of attraction and karma to me are the same button. But when I say consciousness, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes. When I say where is that consciousness, what is that consciousness, where does it come from, and where does it continue when our blink of an eye goes away? And do I have evidence in why I believe in this? I have an experience that isn't maybe isn't measurable evidence, but when a year ago, a little over a year ago, we had a close friend who had drowned, and I found out about it when I was in Guatemala, and it struck me. And this young, beautiful man, about 10 years younger than me, who I considered a younger brother, he had drowned. And I find out about it, and I'm working in Guatemala on a lakefront property in a restaurant, and I had just finished building this platform deck, which we were making we turned it into the dining room. And it was like mid-afternoon, and we were just hanging out, and we hear a young girl screaming. I'm like, he's under the water. I ran out to the deck, and I see 2 local Guatemalan boys running into the water. I see a girl on the deck screaming. My clock starts clicking.
Oh, I think I remember this story. I heard this story when it happened.
And then I posted something about it. So I run as fast as I can, and it takes me maybe 20 seconds, 10, 20, maybe 30 seconds, maybe at the most, to get down there. And I'm run into the lake and just in time to help drag him from the water out. I had believed that he had drowned at that point, and I just knew I could save his life if he had drowned. Later, I find out, he probably had broken his neck. But when I was performing CPR for the first time, it was a frightening, incredible experience that changed my life forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pushing my...
You gave him CPR?
It was, yeah. And I know that we do differently. I know there's better in different ways now, but this is what I was trained as a kid. Boy Scout stuff, And I was working on this guy for this 20-year-old... He's a 20-year-old Swedish kid traveling. And I just wanted so bad for him to live.
Mm-hmm.
The value of life.
Okay.
And I'm pushing my air into him, and I'm pushing blood through, and for just a split second, I saw him and look at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt his body go from a human soul to flesh. And I felt it. I felt it in my hands. I felt that life leave. And I said, "You're loved, and we love you. You're not alone." Right at that moment when he went and looked at me and died.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I felt his soul leave his body. And I believe it's more than just that.
Could you be mistaken?
I absolutely...
It's a beautiful story.
Absolutely could be mistaken. But these are the things, these are the experiences that happens in humanity that make us go, whoa. What's going on?
Yeah.
It's a story. It happened to me. It was powerful. It makes me feel like there's something. And if it doesn't exist, is it going to change my behavior? No. If it does exist, is it going to change my behavior? I don't think so. But it's going to really, it's going to hold me till I die. No, I'm not going to be in fear of my deathbed. Hopefully it's rich and as painless as possible, but it's reality. It's going to happen. And if it blinks away to blackness, then hey, that's peace as well. But if it lasts and there's some type of ascension that we all kind of talk about, people getting reincarnated or us going to higher planes and levels, and if that happens as well, fine. But should there be organized religions? And you have to believe this, or otherwise you're not going to have this ascension. That's the horse shit. That that's really been shifting. That's where my shifting is happening, and that's when this project that you're on, that you just introduced me to, is making me go, whoa, like truth matters, and believing in bullshit should be talked about. Okay. And so
I thank you.
I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say.
That's great.
What can I say? It makes me believe.
Okay.
But it also makes all this stuff that you're talking to me about this system of trying to really talk about this, is making me really look at it in a more pragmatic and rational way. So what I said earlier about, if it doesn't really hurt anybody, it's okay. And now I'm like, it's really actually hurting people. And it's really not okay. So
does that go
from that first talk until now, I'm almost backtracking all of that. Almost. Okay. Not completely.
So there was a point in the last 10 days where you went down on your number scale, and then since that time when you and I spoke, you've gone back to where you are.
Number scale what specifically?
For either a higher power or a lot of the beliefs.
No, but maybe that when I say I believe it's okay to believe stuff.
Oh, I see.
My scale, remember, it's okay to
believing
believe stuff.
Things that are false are okay.
False for okay.
If it gives you comfort.
If it gives you comfort.
And you were thinking after our talk.
At the time, before our talk and during the talk, I kept saying things like, if it's no longer not hurting anybody else. Well, it's definitely maybe hurting yourself, and it's definitely maybe going to hurt your children or the people around you if they're going to be believing things that aren't true. So we really need to have a talk about principles and philosophies
so it's important
that
to
matter
you
about how to
true.
living a good life. And if you're going to be believing in stuff that isn't true, then you really need to talk about, is it really going to hurt people?
So I'm hearing you say it's important to know if it's true. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. If it weren't true, how would you find out?
I don't know. If it's not true, how do you find out? I don't know. I don't know, Nathan.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
No.
So remember when we talked to... Okay, I remember...
What's the point?
Well,
what's the big point? I don't know. What's the point of this? What's the point of the big point?
The big point, I guess, would be why would we be at a number if the way we got to that number was through a test, which only gives us an A+ and never gives us an F? Is there a method to arrive at 82% confidence that does not rely on a test that can only confirm? And there's no way to imagine it not confirming it?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's
because I can imagine this pen
condition.
not falling, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And
but you know, we could be in a if we were in that spaceship, if we were in this spaceship going down at was it 9 point something feet per second or something?
If you just drop a thing, it's 9.2,
right?
I think, meters per second
exactly.
squared. So because it accelerates as it falls.
If we're going down and we drop, and we're inside of this rocket going down or plane, and then we drop it, it's just gonna float there.
In relation to us, it will. However, isn't it still falling?
Well, we're all falling.
Well, if we let go of the pen and it appears to be floating to us, then it's us saying it's floating. However, if we're standing outside of this thing, then all of it's falling, right?
Well, maybe we're all falling.
Yeah, could be.
I'm not sure what I mean by that. I'm just...
Are you... So you have things that would bump you up in confidence, it seems.
Things
higher
that
than
bump
82?
Down?
No, let's talk about up. Since I just tried down and I didn't get anywhere. So let's try going up. What would bump you up? And to be more confident. Because right now you're at 82.
I mean, the only reason I really brought up the fact that like it bumped up was just to be like, man, it's not going down.
Why? Do you want it not to go down?
Oh, it can... Do I want it not to go down? Do I want it to not go down? Possibly, yeah. Do I want... Sure, it can go down, yeah.
It can go down.
Do I want it to go down? Do I want it to go down? That's very,
if you found that there were no good reasons to be at an 82, would that be sufficient to knock you down to
what's
a lower
the difference?
number?
Okay, here we go. In my head now, in my rationale, and maybe I'm thinking about these numbers, to me, an 82 is no different than a 1. Now I'm getting this somewhere.
So last time we did...
I guess. If maybe I'm maybe misunderstanding still...
Do you remember the car example? I have a car, I have a second car,
for sure.
and I have an invisible car.
Invisible car.
Right.
But, maybe you could have an invisible car.
Mm-hmm. Where would you be on the scale for me? And this is not a hypothetical. I have an invisible car.
It's like a 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is not a hypothetical. There is a higher power.
Yeah, so it's like 1.
Okay. So you'd be at a 1 for a higher power?
But the thing is, 1 to 99% to me, I guess, now
so
seems
these
to be
numbers
like
are supposed to reflect the feeling of your confidence.
Feeling of my confidence.
And it seems like you are confident that there is a higher power.
I'm confident. I feel,
okay,
and I believe confidently.
Maybe it's just the numbers can be a little confusing.
I think so. And I think to me it is. I mean, to other people it might make a lot more sense, but to me, it's just like there's a possibility, and the confidence level is higher than lower. And what's the difference? Because it's not 0, and it never will be 0.
It can't be 0 because you're not ignorant of it. If you were born someplace where no one ever mentioned higher power, would there be a way that you could conclude that there was one?
that is a good question. I'm wondering if there is there even ever a possibility of that? And then what kind of person, what kind of questions do they ask? But do not people always, throughout history, always, through all different types of backgrounds, ask these questions of who am I? And
right, because the questions exist whether or not there's an answer
so the
for
questions
them.
fabricate
So it could be
things.
that we've all had these questions and we all come up with different ways to answer the questions. The question that I'm asking, though, is how do we know there is an answer to the question at all?
I don't know.
And if there's no pathway to get to an answer, should we be at a number at all about anything until there's any good reason?
No, not really.
Okay.
It really shouldn't be.
Okay.
And I admit that to myself, and I admit that to you.
I'm hearing you say it, although I'm not sure why the number is 82.
Because I have this.
Do you want it to be 82, or like?
I want it to be. Is it not about want? I don't have a choice. I feel like I'm without. I feel I don't have a choice, and that makes me wonder about. Did I ever have a choice? And now, knowing what I know, and knowing how I was raised, being made to do all these certain things, being told this is how these things are, do I really even have a choice? Did I ever have a choice? Can I make a can I change my point of reference on this eternal question of where we come from, why am I here, and where am I going if I go anywhere in this eternal perspective of life?
So those
I
questions...
cannot answer that question, and I will now, because of my upbringing that I had no choice in, I don't have a choice now. It seems I just don't have a choice. I hold on to something, even though I have totally called out a lot of bull about the way it was all done, and the issues, and the problems, and the violence, and the discourse, and the disagreements. And am I going to be capable of rationally thinking about these things and maybe putting aside that hope in the eternal soul? That
hope
there is
in the eternal soul?
That there is some type of something? I don't know. But I'm thinking about it a lot differently now. And I appreciate it.
Oh yeah. I appreciate you sharing everything.
I'm like verbally saying things that
if somebody
not necessarily even thought about before.
Yeah, totally. If somebody were believing in a thing that you didn't agree with, but they didn't know how to slide down their scale, what would you tell them?
See, there we go. I want to talk about that. Say that again. I really want to get into that.
Okay.
Say that again.
If somebody were believing in a thing and you didn't agree with them, but they could not identify or imagine any criteria to slide them down the scale, meaning they couldn't even, they said this pen will fall, even though they've never seen a pen fall ever, and they can't imagine what a pen not falling would be. They're just saying it will.
Yeah.
Would they be justified in saying it will fall? I mean, that's just an example of an abstract thought experiment, but let's say it's something that you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And somebody is holding a number somewhere high on the scale, but they don't have anything that they could imagine or point to explain to us what it not being true would even look like.
Yeah, I mean, that's... I mean, we're only capable of seeing and understanding stuff that we've already experienced and seen. So,
can you give me an example of what you mean?
Okay, so yeah, an example, a story that I heard about when the conquistador ships showed up into the New World.
Yeah.
They first showed up and they were off the coast and they were moored. And the seen, like there was something out there, but they weren't actually seen for what they were.
I love this
And
example. Yeah.
the shaman that went out there sat there and only saw the splashing of something. There was a splash going on.
There's something out there they couldn't identify.
They couldn't identify it.
Yeah.
And at first it was just there was splashing, and there was like a cloud, kind of a weird cloud, and some splashing. And then after staring at it for like 3 days, they were able to see that it was like a giant canoe with sheets,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so beforehand, because there was never anything in their head to map that and to reference it to,
Mm-hmm.
they weren't able to just see ships.
Right. They saw something else. They had seen, I can't remember what it was, but I know the story.
You know the story.
And they wrote something like they were sea monsters or something. I can't remember specifically what it was, but they thought it was something very weird.
Fascinating story about how so much in this world is invisible, and until we have reference to it, or unknown.
Mm-hmm.
So these unknowns are invisible until we have reference to it. So do we have reference to God or other gods, or all we have is stories and questions? So, you know, and all of this that we're seeing in this pattern, from all these patterns and this beauty and all this Fibonacci sequence and all of these colors and then the light, could just be the splash against the ships, and us don't have reference to the greatness of it all. So I'm holding back and gonna not be judgmental.
Are you holding back?
Am I? I don't know. I'm trying.
Okay, so
You're
here's
right.
how
Maybe I'm not
I
holding
am
back.
interpreting.
Conclusions. Yeah.
Here's how I'm interpreting your story.
There we go. Now
and how it connects in with what you're saying. To me, you're like the Mayans, I guess, that are on the coast looking out at a thing and seeing something, not knowing what it is, and interpreting it as something, and concluding a thing. Concluding a mysterious
right?
thing.
Yeah.
And the truth is whatever it happens to be, which is the boat out there, right? And when it comes up, then they then find out what it really is once it's there. The difference is with that situation and that analogy and what I'm seeing here is it seems like the epistemology of our conclusions here about a higher power are that it's awe, and that it's consciousness and beauty in this world, and sacred geometry stuff, and the beauty of nature. Can those things all exist in our minds and there not be a higher power?
Yeah.
And the boat that's out there is really something else?
Absolutely.
But all the things that we see lead us to believe, like, awe is real, right? And our experiences are real. And I don't discount your experiences at all. Like, I think I've had experiences like that too, where I had attributed, or at least I had some overwhelming, like, emotional, visceral reaction to an event in my life, or a sudden realization of identity, right? Things like that. Some life-transforming things. Those things, though, after studying epistemology, have told me that it means a lot about... It says a lot about me as a person and the kind of person I want to be and become. However, I wouldn't want to attribute my experiences necessarily to anything that I couldn't... If there is no failed test for my conclusion, then I want to not be at a high number about the conclusion. Only because if it's not the case, and there's no way to show that it's not the case, and it's not there, then I'm stuck believing in a thing that's not true. And so it could be true. I'm not saying you're wrong either. I want to be clear about that.
No,
I just want to say...
I'm actually really hearing you really hearing what you're saying, and I think I'm really understanding the scale system better.
Okay.
And I would drop it.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know what it would be, but I would.
Okay.
For sure.
We'll come to what the number would be near the end.
But I just don't know. The thing is, but it does make sense. And I love that I was the one to bring up the story to make it make sense.
Yeah, so
you know what I mean?
this workshop is about listening to other examples. I could have thrown out a ton of examples, but if they didn't resonate with you, then it wouldn't have been effective in resolving our understanding.
Yeah, because that's one that resonates with me. And I've used that in other ways, which has blown people's minds. I've used that example when it comes to our observation with perception and reality and what's really true and what's invisible. And I've had that's what editing's for.
Yeah, this is what editing is for. Although I might leave it in just because it's like this is hard to do. Like the interview process. I'm trying to think right now of what my next question would be.
I don't know. This is really hard for me.
Part of me is wondering whether or not we should.
This is raw.
Keep talking.
I'm questioning myself, and I'm questioning my beliefs, and I'm questioning everything.
Right.
And I'm questioning it more than ever.
It's because you value truth.
I was already going into this with some transformative stuff in my life, with some really big questions, and I'm coming together as a whole person for the first time in my life. I mean, I was broken like a horse when I was a kid, and I never really got choice to be myself my whole life, and it's taken me years to piece it all back together, and then finally piecing it together, and then I get to sit down and talk to you about the whole freaking point. What's and I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Nothing's going to change with how I'm going to treat people and be around people, but
does lead me to something that I did write down here in my notes. When I was listening over to our interview again, there was a part where you had said, if none of this is true, then what's the point?
Doing the first one?
It was the second. It was when you came back. It was our second portion.
Well, so second half. Point, like I could just steal from you and shoot you.
That's what matter. Can you explain that to me?
Where did we come from? Where did this consciousness come from before I was born? Did I exist? Why am I here? Yeah. What is my purpose? And if I die, when I die, am I going to get put back into another mortal existence, or am I going to just be this? Is it going to be gone in the blackness?
Yeah, these are huge questions.
Am I going to exist for eternity as some spirit, or does my soul possibly get reunited with my body in resurrection through the power of Jesus Christ? Is Allah really going to give us virgins, or are we going to continue to advance and be higher and higher and higher beings in this universal time-space continuum? If it's going to give you some type of hope, and if it's going to make you a better person in this life, then so be it.
Okay.
Because what really matters is if you're good and a giving, gracious human being now. And many people on this earth need that. Because if there's no hope, then what's the fucking point? Fuck you and I'll kill you. It doesn't matter. I'm going to steal from you. Or sometimes these things bring people together to help each other out. Man.
Do you still think that's the case?
Kinda. Yeah. And that definitely could be just because I was taught to believe that if you sin, then you're going to suffer later.
If there was no higher power, and let's say you looked in the box and it brought you down to a 1 or a 2 on the scale, would you think there would be no reason to be good?
No, there's good reasons to be good, of course.
Okay.
There's all the reasons to be good. Do these questions prevent people from committing things that are bad? Maybe. What do you think?
So like
What do you
the thought of karma may prevent somebody from doing bad things because they're afraid that they'll get bad karma.
Come back in a later life as an ant, or be damned to eternal damnation. Which neither one of those things I tend to believe in. But does that question prevent people from doing things? You know what? I don't know. I think a lot of people do a bunch of horrible things. Doesn't matter what they believe. So. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was important to hit that one.
I think it is. I think it is important. It is a question that I think matters a little bit. Take it all away. I think heinous acts and horrible things are going to happen anyways. People have done horrible things in the name of their God. Horrible genocides in the name of their eternal perspective. So on that argument, yeah, it's pretty screwed up. And to justify those acts because someone else is in a different belief is evil and wrong and needs to be called out.
Yeah, so like war over dogma would be bad for sure.
Of course.
If somebody believes that, oh man, this is like really tough. I don't know if I have the capabilities of doing this. It's like an old Socrates thing, but like, does anyone think what they ever do is bad?
Yes.
People think they're doing bad things?
Of course. I think so.
Okay.
And they do it anyways.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
If someone,
I know a lot of
if
times
someone
too.
does a thing, don't they think it's good or justified in some way?
Well, is it good? But it could be justified.
Right. So it's relatively good to them. They'll justify doing it because it's good for them.
Somehow pay off in some way.
Yeah.
Dopamine spikes or riches. Or I don't know.
Like even when like horrible people do horrible things, I'm thinking of like Nazis right now.
Sure.
We could think about anything really.
Whatever, horrible. Unspeakable.
Don't they think they're doing the right thing?
I mean, some of them depends. If you're talking about Nazis and what they believed was right, yeah. I mean, maybe there was a lot of us.
That's I wish I could go down that rabbit hole further.
No.
It's like an old Socrates thing. He said, "Does a man ever do that which he thinks is wrong?" And so I can't remember how long it is, but it's an interesting it's an interesting like way to think about how other people's minds work. And if karma were real, and a person was doing something bad which they thought was good, then would karma be affecting them still? And if
negatively, yes.
So
because you get your lessons.
So if we don't know whether or not it's good or bad, objectively speaking, for karma to influence us, can we use karma to really know if it's working? I mean, how would we know it's working or not? Yeah. Let me think here. Let me go to the next one.
What's next?
Yeah, let's see. Okay, this is taking a little different direction. In our last interview, the second portion, you mentioned that you already went through the fire of this interview process. Can you explain to me what you meant? Are you comfortable with my line of questioning? I don't want to push you in a place you don't want to go.
You can't.
Good. I know, because we love each other.
No, it's not even that. No, I could not like you, and you wouldn't push me to a place.
Okay, yeah. You have that strength within you. I think.
Absolutely,
you're strong.
I mean, man. I mean, I went on a 2-year Mormon mission, and I was challenged, and I'm talking about a bunch of stuff that I don't really necessarily believe in because I was just a young kid that was just brainwashed and thrown out there into the world to preach Jesus, and so I've already gone through the fire of all this, the fire. And then I've had all these new experiences in life and knowledge and connecting on friends and friends and family and other people. with all these different types of belief systems, and I've just continued to glean from them and accept them and allow it to be. It is possible. We don't have the understanding. We are mortal. We are temporal. How then can we possibly understand eternity? Yeah, because you had said something about, like, oh, it's because I love you. And I go, well, yes, it's that. But no, it's because I've already been challenged on my beliefs so intensely growing up as a kid, you know, being part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So being Mormon.
Yeah.
And so it set me apart being in a rural area in Oregon. So I was like alone. And then going on a mission, it made me a target. And I did it in the South Pacific Islands, so I was around islanders in Micronesia. So that made me even more set apart. And then there would be other missionaries from other faiths, or there would be locals there that were like leaders or not, or there's people we would talk to that would be very attack and really have to put yourself on the defense. You're defending your faith when you're going there.
Yeah, so you've gone through the
so that
fire.
That was the fire. That was the fire. That was like I'm
being challenged about that.
Yeah, just all the time. And I always approached it back then with an open mind, but I always remembered thinking to myself, you know, if I'm having these doubts or if I'm believing it, but I was always believing it because I was supposed to believe in it, because I'm the oldest son of the oldest son. You know, I'm expected of me as an older brother, and but all those trials, all that hardship, it was just the fire. It was this tempering process that made it so later in life, it made me be very empathetic towards people that thought differently than me.
Totally. I resonate with that a lot.
So that made me be okay with all these differences. And if people think about whatever they want to believe, and a lot of people that we are in contact with, you know, have a lot of interesting ways of thinking, and I'm all down with it. And it's allowed me to try out new things. It's allowed me to experiment with different belief systems, and it's allowed me to hear teachings in Southeast Asia and with an open mind. It's allowed me to go do tarot cards and readings and those kind of things with kind of like bring it on. Because nothing that I haven't really, you know, heard before in a way, because I've already gone there. And then been challenged so hard myself, that's why I've always come like, well, I'm gonna allow some of this to just gonna be, because I was so challenged and hurt physically and also very attacked verbally, that I am never going to be like, you're wrong, but using this process is a way to maybe open minds and build bridges.
Right.
So that's why it's really caught my attention when we first started talking. So going into this, I had no idea what we were going to talk about, why we were talking about it.
Yeah, my question, by the way, that was a beautiful story, and thank you for sharing that.
Okay.
But if I were talking to you 10 years ago, maybe
10 years ago, okay,
15, whenever you happen to be the Mormon missionary.
Oh no, that was 20 years ago.
20 years ago. So you're sitting in this chair now, 20 years ago. Reflect on that, how your mind was. If you were at a number for the Mormon God being true, what do you think you would have given it?
I would have said 99.
You would have given it a 99?
I would have said 99.
99. And what brought you to a 1? About that idea. Maybe you're not at a 1 anymore. Maybe you're at some other number.
Well, no, the Mormon God is the same God as the Christian God. It's the same God. They believe in God the Father, and they believe in Jesus Christ, and they believe in the Holy Ghost, like the Trinity. But
let me be more specific.
I've changed it all. The perspective
that the Mormon ideas are factually true.
Oh no, yeah, it would have been like way back when I was then. I just would have regurgitated whatever was been said. I just would have regurgitated it. For sure.
Yeah. And
I would have been thinking.
What number are you?
Myself.
And you would give it a 99. What would you give it today?
From that point?
Yeah, compared to where you were.
I have no idea how to answer that because I don't
scale.
feel it's not different really in a way.
It's not different.
It is, but the way I see it all is different. It's a really big question. I don't know. It's different. It's different. I don't believe that.
You changed the conclusion. So if somebody were here to say like
because I've seen so much in all this world history and these world religions, I'm not believing in any of this religious stuff, but I'm believing in the question.
Yeah, are we concluding something from the question?
Well, I'm concluding that what I was taught isn't necessarily exactly the truth. And so it makes me question more instead of just be like...
Yeah, and I would say doubt is just the feeling associated with questioning.
Yeah.
And that's what
I think it's
accompanies a lower number on the scale.
He does, yeah, exactly.
Where would you
That's why I was like, okay, I'm going to this feeling stronger about it, but after really understanding the scale, I'm like, okay, what we're really talking about is I'm doubting more now, but I still feel good about my doubt.
So,
because I've always been a skeptic, and so that's why the scale goes down. That's why I feel like, okay, you know what? Yeah, 82 because I'm feeling really solid about it. But actually, I'm feeling more solid in my doubts.
Yeah, it could take a lot.
That's kind of like what was going on, like, and then the question you just said kind of goes back to when I said a minute ago that my other scales about all the other things have just all gone down, all of them. Like in my past belief system that was taught to me gets way more in doubt, way down, and all the little nuances and particular doctrines get to be taken down to more of a skeptical level, like even below doubt. And
yeah, so if the Abram 20 years ago were sitting where I'm sitting now, saying what you were saying 20 years ago to you, where would you be on the scale thinking about what he's saying? If he was saying the same stuff, I know. So if he was saying the same stuff that you said door to door, to you, where are you on the scale today about the stuff he said?
Low.
Okay. What number do you think you would give it?
All the stuff. Really low. Really low.
You want to give it a number? Or a range of numbers, maybe?
Like low. Like
define low.
Like as low as it gets.
Okay. As low as it gets is 1.
It's pretty low.
And 1 is, to me, like, you think that there's nothing at all supporting it. It's vacuous. It's a statement that...
Then it's like 5 to 15?
Okay.
Because I don't think it's...
Because you can imagine it being the case.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I can imagine it being the case as well.
I can imagine it being the case.
Yeah.
But not in the way they're saying it, that it's been corrupted.
You and I are really close.
And it's fouled. It's been fouled by Christian Americana and traditionalism and patriarchy and misogyny.
Right.
That's where I'm coming from when I'm seeing this being wrong. So that's my distaste for it. But what would I say to me 20 years ago if I showed up at the door right now?
Exactly.
I would tell that person in a very kind, loving way to think for yourself, to draw your own conclusions. Okay. Which is what they try to say, because it is part of Mormon doctrine. There's a scripture in there that says
they say to draw your own conclusions.
Well, there's in James 1-5, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, which giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not. Well, I just pulled the scripture out of my rear end, but.
That was great.
But the thing is, if you're wondering what's going on, well, pray, ask, and then in the Book of Mormon, there's things like there's one of them at the very end where one of the prophets is writing. He says,
What does a failed test look like? If you pray and ask, what does a failed test look like?
Well, people think they get responses from prayers all the time, but they come from their own perceptions. That maybe they believe that they made a prayer, they need some help, they really need help.
Most people that believe in a higher power also believe in the power of prayer, and they'll say that their prayers were answered, and they'll attribute that their good fortune to their prior prayer.
Like you're in need of something.
If somebody prays and it doesn't come true, is that a way to falsify prayer? In other words, does that prove prayer wrong if it doesn't get answered?
Well,
I guess what I'm saying is it a conundrum to be in a situation where
conundrum.
When you pray, you can attribute the prayer to the success of the idea, and no examination of this can lower your confidence about it. In other words, prayer will always work for somebody who believes, because they will attribute their experience to this idea.
Well, they're very good at having lots of other stories where your prayer is not answered because it's in God's own time. It's not up to you. It's not. There's a higher purpose. There's a different plan. There's a reason why.
If this weren't happening, wouldn't somebody be able to use those words to describe why a prayer wouldn't get answered?
Well, they going to justify it as my prayer not being answered is because of a lesson or it's not time.
There's some justification we can imagine for why the prayer wasn't answered.
Absolutely.
I guess what I'm saying is, does the test for these people, and this isn't us, these are people out there that are still going door to door, is their test always coming back as an A+?
Their test, yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. I can't speak for other people because I know there's a lot.
Does it seem to us, though? I mean, we're looking from the outside, and they're going door to door. When they pray and get it, they say the prayer works. And if they pray and don't get it, they tell themselves it wasn't ready or not the time or there's some other reason for why it didn't work. But in any case, prayer works whether it works or not to these people?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So just to pin that one down, it seems like the test always comes back an A.
Sure.
Plus. And never comes back.
Do I like the fact that my grandmother prays for me all the time?
Well, that's different.
Does it work?
That's different.
I don't know.
That's like adding meaning to this.
My grandma putting it out there, she's really praying for me to to figure out my life.
Yeah.
Is it making any difference? The fact that I know that she does it really gives me a little bit of a...
Well, she thinks about you, which is great.
And it gives me warmth in my heart. I know that we're praying for you, and I'm like...
We're, in this workshop,
feel good.
only concerned about whether or not it's true.
Or not. Do I think it's true? No, not really, no, at all. But
so the pathway to believe that prayer works seems to only have a test that gives an A+ and doesn't ever give an F, and there's no way to imagine it failing.
Well, I just personally have so many failed prayers because I actually tried so many times in my life.
Okay.
And I weighed the balances.
So you don't believe in that?
Well, because I've actually done it, let's tally it up. And it's just doesn't seem to make a difference.
I see. Somebody could look at your scoreboard, because you said tally. So you could mark everyone that worked and mark everyone that didn't work. And somebody else could look at your... So this is... Let's focus on epistemology. Slow down for a second. Let's focus on epistemology, okay? Somebody else looks at your scoreboard, and then they conclude that all the failed tests only failed for you because God doesn't answer all prayers. But the ones that he did answer, he totally was a part of. Is that a conundrum for this person's mind?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a conundrum for me.
Yeah.
And I had to work through it.
Only because we're concerned whether or not it's true. And if the test we're using to believe that it's true is always confirming, and there's no way to even conceive of a way to disconfirm it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so through my testing, I amended my process to shifting it from a all-powerful God to realizing that these acts of prayer, by being grateful and saying things that I would like and wishing for a better life and being grateful for everything I have and saying a mantra and affirmation and repeating it is what brings me more positivity and more goodness and more abundance into my life. I've witnessed it myself. I've felt it happen. I've kind of, is that because of the power of law of attraction? Is it the power of God? Is it power that's outside? Is it external power? Probably not, because that's where I've drawn my conclusions now. But I've had to kind of go through the process of this, and now I'm like, well, this is by saying these mantras and meditations, and it is by definition prayer, but I'm not, I may or may not be sometimes shooting it out to an external source, but do I have faith that it's the external source bringing me those good things? No. It's the fact that I'm actually getting off my ass and doing something about it.
Okay.
It changes my life. And I think that's what the failure of this false hope in that you're going to just pray for something or believe or make my mind feel like the law of attraction is going to give me something positive.
So you would consider it false hope if it's not true?
Exactly.
Okay. Is it possible the law of attraction is false hope?
Absolutely.
Okay. If it were false hope, how would we go about discovering that it is?
I don't know. Can we sit there and can we do scientific?
I'm asking essentially what test could we ever do to show that it's not true? Or are we doing the same thing that the people going door to door are doing?
Maybe we are doing the same thing that they're doing.
Okay.
Even this.
That's
even
very
this,
honest of you.
Even this could be interpreted as the exact same thing.
In what way?
In what way? That you're trying to spread something that's true, that maybe is going to lead to a better life.
What am I trying to spread? I'm curious about that.
Truth.
Oh, like objectivity itself?
Objectivity as in truth, as we're trying to...
Maybe there is no such thing as truth, maybe?
Ooh, or truth is just a difficult word.
I will admit that if truth isn't that which best matches the external world, then everything is undermined here.
Yeah. But I agree with it.
But if facts are facts, if there are facts that exist, or if there are ways to describe the world that are more perfect than other ways to describe the world, that seems to me to be reason enough to agree with other people about what the word true means. Like when I say, is that true over there? What's the value of that question? What am I asking? And to me, I'm asking, did you assess that correctly? Like, did you do what I would have done in your situation to describe to me adequately that is what is the case, that is a fact? And the things on the list here are all true false claims. They're all either they are that case or not, or maybe they defy all of our ability to know whether a thing could be true or false simultaneously is, in which case I would want to know what the evidence is that we can have anything that contradicts itself like that, that both exists and doesn't exist at the same time. Because it's possible that that's the case, but why are we thinking it? Are we thinking it because we want to make these other ideas we have conform somehow to this world of facts? Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. So, do you have any questions for me?
I don't have any questions for you.
Okay.
I'm like, this has been an incredible experience. I'm quite squeezed.
Okay.
So unless you have some other things you really want to touch upon, like I'm ready to eat pizza or something.
Okay, yeah, I'm down for some pizza here in a bit. Let me see here.
And I feel like I've actually gone a lot out of this.
You gotten a lot out of it?
And the initial experience was incredible.
Okay.
And my understanding about shifting down in being aware and having doubt and being okay with it, I think just this last hour has been really healing and
great.
good.
Awesome.
So
I am curious, what is the number for a higher power? Do you have a number for the higher power?
yeah, it's dropped right now, but it's still strong, and because I still have hope and faith.
How do you define that? Can you put it on the scale somewhere?
I guess it's 60 to 70.
60 to 70.
Now. But that's still, I feel boisterous about it. Like I feel I could not just be like in denial. And it is because of these, it could have just been a physiological response of this kid that went, and then dying in my arms. Okay? And that definitely is true. We know this. Yet that experience, when I witnessed that, was extremely powerful and by definition spiritual. And then throw in the whole of the mixes and stories of my whole life, and that's brought me to now, and hope. Hope is something that I do not believe that I'm going to let go of and lower the number. But I'm going to be pragmatic and realistic about what's true and why I'm believing what I'm believing. And definitely never make someone else, try to make someone else, or be angry at someone else for believing differently. But I would like to help them have a great understanding of where they're drawing their conclusions and why and how, and let's find nonviolent ways to be heard for each other's needs and try to heal the world.
Cool. The last questions on here are just about me as an interviewer.
Okay.
But before I do that, I do want to know what would drop you from a 70 to some other number, even lower on the scale.
What would drop me?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know.
Okay.
I think I've, just really thought about it, and we just kind of turned it about. I have more of an understanding of the scale system because I was trying to really get a grip on what was going on there and why. And I mean that's a really good question, right? Because it's like you already have where you're at, so you only want to add to it because you hope and you want it to be something.
You want it, yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But if I didn't want it, then where would it be?
That's a great question.
So if I could imagine me not wanting it, then it'd probably be like 20.
Okay.
But I want it.
But you want it. Yeah.
And I've had experience that's been just unexplainable.
Yeah.
I can't put it in words.
Okay.
And so that throws it up. So I still have the want and I have the hope and I have some experiences that make it go from 20 to above 70. And through all these conversations, it's making me understand, okay, well, that's being a little bit obnoxious. I should probably not be in an 80 because that's pretty ridiculous.
Is wanting to know a thing? So I wonder, because I've done a lot of outsider tests with you, and they seem to be like effective in getting you, I don't want to freak you out. And I do want to bring this interview to a close at some point, but if somebody else came here and they were saying, I want this to be true, so I'm adding 50 points to my number.
Yeah, I know.
But they were concluding something else.
Yeah, I know, right?
How would you justify telling them, let's say there's a difference and you want to resolve it, how would you do it? Well, if they just say they want it to be the case.
Maybe having someone try to step outside of themselves for a minute and imagine you not wanting it. If that's capable, I'm capable of doing that because I can
clearly, because you gave me a number. Clearly you are, because you gave me a number that's with wanting it and without wanting it.
I can definitely separate my
what you
psyche
want to be the case. And
I can split my, I can see a world. I can see a world where I was born without that dogma crammed down my throat. I can see it. I can see it, and I can feel where I would be without that, and then place myself there and feel those feelings, but it wouldn't take away the questions, and it wouldn't take away the experiences of my life.
And the questions, just to reiterate, the questions and the experiences, you wouldn't want somebody else to use those questions and experiences to conclude other things that you don't think are true, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
like, let's say somebody said astrology is true.
Sure, of
and
course.
They're using questions and they're using experiences. Yeah. And they're also saying that they want it to be the case.
Well, I mean, I've had pretty ridiculous coincidences with astrology, and I've also been and done tarot cards, and I am just extremely skeptical of these things. Mm-hmm. But I've had like, whoa, okay, I just flipped 4 cards in a row that are like, okay, this has got to be bullshit. And I read up about it and I go, wow, that's really in line with what's happening, or with the question I put out right now. So let me just pretend it was some other ones. And I look at all they give you all these things to read, and it doesn't make any sense. And so I'm like, wow, maybe there's something there. And so even though my number is lower, it still is like, well, maybe there's something there, but I don't know. I know how to kind of know how to count cards a little bit when I'm playing cards, and so I can understand
poker.
Yeah, when you're doing like poker or playing blackjack. I'm not very
blackjack.
Yeah, but like I know kind of ratios, and I kind of understand the percentages, and I'm nowhere near good at it, but I get it, and I've been able to successfully do it. And so when I'm seeing these cards come up, I'm like, well, there's a certain percentage of them that are going to give you certain answers, and then you're going to interpret. If you have the hope and the want for it to be true, then you get cards. Well, it makes, to you, it can feel like truth, even though it may not be. And I don't really believe it is. And so I can relate.
Is that a good situation to be in?
Not necessarily, and it also makes me relate to me holding on to the beliefs that I hold on to. It makes me like see them.
Could it be that you think that you're counting cards with regard to the higher power, but you're not? I love you.
Maybe it was a gift. It was a gift from the higher power to be able to do that. I don't know.
Well, cool. I want to bring it to a close unless you have anything else you want to say. No, I'm totally down to do like a 4th interview later on. Ooh. Oh, no. But really, 3 is probably good. We'll give it a year. Let's give it a year, and then we'll see how it goes. All right.
But this was necessary, and 10 days later from the first one was good.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of stuff to talk to you about.
There had been, because this interview went a little differently than I was thinking it was going to go, to be perfectly honest, because there was a lot that you were talking about that we talked about in between now and then, and it seems to have shifted.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know. I mean, you're the one. You're more of the observer with this specimen.
Mighty fine specimen.
So, and I'm spinning, and I'm spinning, and I'm having like trauma healing, life healing that's coinciding with all this right now.
I haven't posted either of the 2 interviews yet, though there's going to be a part that we agreed about that I'm going to cut out of the second.
Yeah.
The end of the first one.
Yeah. Which I think is proper, because that was just personal.
Yeah, we just diverged for a moment.
Well, yeah, and we had already kind of closed things up, but we close it up, we keep talking, that's still good. It's good stuff. So
yeah, and we'll carry on. It would be, though, fascinating a year from now to do this again.
I think it would be.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm going to have all this experience over this next year of being a more whole, healed human being, more present, having my...
And the one thing I would leave you with between now and then is you have that survey at home.
I have it somewhere,
whenever you're feeling a little existential or philosophical, or you're thinking about things or reevaluating a thing or doubting a thing, I'd like for you to pull out that survey and think if your idea and the confidence that you have is violating any one of those principles.
Okay.
And if it is, then consider why you would be, and whether or not you want a thing to be true, or whether or not it really is true. And this is my final thing. If we want a thing to be true, does that speak to how we value the truth at all?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay.
I like it.
Cool. And I'm going to go into this. This is the very last. Just it's self-indulgence here. What did you like the best and least about our interview? The best thing about the interview and the least. What was the best thing about the interview and the worst thing about it?
The best thing I liked about the interview is that I got to speak openly. I felt like it was a good way to speak openly about beliefs without judgment.
That's rad. Awesome.
And yeah.
I listened back to the interview, and I gotta say, I am not quite where I want to be yet with my tone or with my approach, and I could be even more removed from my own bias with my questions.
I think that
should be
because I didn't dislike.
do
I could honestly say I didn't dislike any of it. Like what I like least, and I think you just addressed it.
Was that
plainly?
Okay.
And I didn't dislike it because I enjoy our banter and I don't mind the over talk. But if you're trying to talk to someone that you don't know or someone that doesn't quite respect you like I do, then, and if you also want to create a platform or to express this, like do you want to have a video that's posted that other people can witness?
Yeah.
Okay, then you want that to be a good discourse.
Yeah, because you saw some of the other epistemology interviews that I sent you.
Yeah.
That other people have made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're practiced.
I just want you to know, like, most other SE content creators out there are not interviewing people they know. They're interviewing strangers. I think that this will be a special 3-part episode just because you and I know each other. So the way that this goes down is going to be a lot different because we have this history of like 7.5 years of being brothers. Yeah. Right? And so other people, I imagine there are other people out there with disputes of fact that are just afraid to talk with people that are in their family or talk to people that that are their best friends about things.
They don't want to ruin their relationships, and I understand that. And this is very sensitive, and I think you're going to have to be very careful moving forward.
Oh, yeah.
And enough said about that.
Enough said. But when I talk to strangers, I'm like, because I'll sometimes do this, not with the scale, not with the survey, but I'll do this every day with everyone I meet, everywhere. In other words, I just ask how and why questions all the time. So I do this all the time for all sorts of stuff. It's not just about the higher power thing, but to me the higher power thing is really interesting because it's my belief that there are lots of other things holding on to the higher power thing that are unrelated to the higher power thing that tell us all of these other conclusions, all of which drive behaviors. Yep. Yeah, so that's why I think it's an interesting. Not saying that it's not true. I mean, it very well could be.
I mean, we could have done this entire thing with me on a slew of other stuff.
No, yeah, we could have picked anything. As a matter of fact, you could pick something right now if you want.
There's a slew of other things.
It literally can be applied to anything. Like, if you're thinking,
there's a lot of like political kind of beliefs.
Oh yeah,
that are just
political beliefs are harder because they're not true false, but we could still do it.
But you can still go into like the group mentality of things to be true, and the other ones want it to be. They want it to be true, and everyone around me thinks it's true, and so then we're gonna just be part of it. And you're like, wow, you guys are all a bunch of assholes, you know, and or there's just like.
We'll get through these aren't calibrated questions. These are really specific. They're just During the interview, did you feel like you were given a chance to express yourself fully?
More than enough.
Okay.
Yeah, more than enough. Thank you.
Did you? How much did you feel understood?
I feel very understood by you.
Okay.
Yeah,
You saw some other street epistemology videos. Did you have any favorite ones?
That girl
We're almost done, by the way.
was really nice.
The girl, yeah.
And I saw a lot of parallels within myself, and I think that's one of the reasons why I liked her.
Put a tag
she was
in
super
the video.
sweet, and she kept saying a bunch of stuff that I was saying. And I'm like, oh.
Maritza, I think.
Crap.
Is her name. Yeah.
Okay, now I got to rethink about how it made me think about
The value of believing in a thing that's true.
like I'm saying the same thing she's saying. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh man, I'm not the only one. But I never thought that in the first place. But it did make me think, am I just regurgitating what I've been taught? Mm-hmm. And yeah, I totally am. And I need to think about that.
Oh, that's cool. Very honest.
I did dislike, but liked a lot of the ones with the Mormon missionaries. But I couldn't watch them anymore because it was just like, oh my gosh, they're just regurgitating parrots. They're just parrots. Mm-hmm. And man, think for yourself. Think for yourself. Think for yourself, kids.
Yeah. Okay.
And it made me be like, oh boy, you're just been trained, and you're coming from a bubble of totally isolated bubble, and going out there with this belief that it's gonna like make the world a better place, like, no. So yeah, those ones made me remember.
I'm gonna resist the urge to go somewhere with all of that. Okay, this one is important. I have to ask this one. What are your thoughts on the ethics of conducting a belief intervention such as the one we have had with you and I?
Yeah, you would consider this a belief
intervention. Yeah, because I'm intervening in your beliefs by drawing myself to them, is how I see it.
Yeah.
And we are both examining your ideas really closely, so I'd call that a belief intervention. Yeah. Do you think that this is an ethical thing to do?
Yes.
Okay.
I do believe this is an ethical thing to do, and people can just deal with it. Okay, great, cool. Last thing, was this worth doing? Yes, it's very worth doing.
Awesome, thanks, man. Yeah. Sweet. That's it, man. Anything left for me? Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, man. Appreciate your time and all the effort, and we've been talking back and forth. And
I'm always honest. It's kind of I hold myself to be an honorable man, but this has been raw.
It's been
and I
real raw.
I've never been so forthwith about these things in my entire life, and because I've been held captive, even in the years of being apart from the church and from some family things. I've always kind of held back on maybe judgment when I've been thinking about these things, but now I'm kind of coming to terms with it all and becoming healed in other ways that have now allowed me to just stand up in my own truth, I guess that's a way to put it. Just to be like knowing myself as an individual and being able to draw my own conclusions and realizing that I'm still a good person through it all. And that's not what's making me a good person. Cool.
Sweet, man. Great way to end it.
Pizza.
Oh, yeah. The old man legs. All right, time to eat. It's been good. Absolutely. Great. Yeah? Good. Good interview. Incredible.
Yeah, I'd say it was good.
Really, really good.
Man, yeah, really good. The second half of the other one, powerful. I'm excited.
Second half of this, yeah.
The second one we did, the second one we did,
Yeah.
especially once we kind of got through the question started, maybe just like the last hour.
Yeah.
It was. I've listened to that and I'm just like enthralled, and I've listened to it like 10 times. I think. Because I've driven probably like.
Wow.
Wait, can I listen to that one? Did you send it?
You should.
It's gonna be on YouTube eventually. So.
Right.
You should listen. It is.
Should I just wait?
Or if you have time, yeah.
I can send
listen
it
to
to
them
you.
both, man. If you want, you're gonna learn something about me. That's for sure. you're gonna learn more about me than most. You know now, Nathan. You know me well already.
I listen to